Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today we're going to be doing a series on the MiSTer FPGA DE10 Nano project, more specifically in this instance, SRG320's continued work on the Sega Titan Video Core, which is an offshoot of the Sega Saturn core. And if you're not aware, there was an arcade board called the Sega Titan Video that basically had the entirety of the Saturn hardware on it, but it ran off cartridges, not off CDs. And interestingly enough, one game, Batman Forever, actually had a completely different soundboard that was additional to the STV called the Rack Sound System. I have one somewhere stashed in the closet. It's super annoying to hook up. It has a ton of wires to basically change the entire sound system from the Saturn hardware to this new hardware, and for the longest time you could play this game on the STV Core, but it would be absolutely silent because that board was not written into the FPGA code. And I said in a video I really wouldn't be surprised if SRG320 never bothers to write the FPGA code just to play one pretty janky B-tier beat-em up from the 90s, but I was completely wrong. He dedicated a bunch of time to the task, and now the Rack Sound System is completely reproduced in MiSTer FPGA's Cyclone 5 chip, which is just wild to think that he spent all that time to give us one game to make sure that the entirety of the STV library would work. And because it is a sound-based video, you're getting an early sound sample, 30 seconds to hear what the rack sounded like compared to Sega Saturn hardware. So that's the Rack Sound System. If you're wondering how it's spelled, it is R-A-X, and that's why these boards are very expensive if you want to buy a complete original, because a lot of people just got rid of these boards and the soundboard along with them, and a lot of them do like to fail over time. Soundboards seem to be very susceptible to just having issues, Konami being the worst offender on things that just basically rot away due to capacitor leak. But like I said, I do have one in the closet. Maybe I'll take it out for a direct comparison, but honestly, it sounds like how I remember it, and Batman Forever isn't a game that I play all that often. All the same, the second thing that has been fixed up is you'll see Robin here is able to kick. There was an issue in the core before where the kick button just did not do anything whatsoever, and that's just down to how the different inputs are hooked up on STV and pretty much every arcade board. Yes, JAMA is a standard connector, but developers can and will do weird things with the different pinouts and different silicon on board to kind of get their controls in. So it's a situation where every single game seems to kind of do something ever so slightly different on the controls. But obviously in a beat 'em up, punching is one thing, kicking is another, and you kind of want to have both so you actually get the full gameplay in. So now as of today, Batman Forever is 100% playable. You can play it from start to finish, and trust me, you definitely want to. I'm not saying this game is a hidden gem. It is a little bit weird and janky, but it's just so synonymous with what the 90s truly were. This ridiculous color profile here, based on a Batman movie that really just didn't hit in movie theaters and isn't fondly remembered whatsoever. The modern Batman movies are incredible. All of the Tim Burton Batman movies are great, but this era of Batman just wasn't anything that I think people wanted back in the day. It just screams 90s in all of the best ways and the worst ways possible, and obviously the design here using these digitized sprites, just something that was super popular, and some of the power-ups and power-downs in this game are insane. We've turned all of the enemies here into tiny little miniatures of themselves that you can basically just beat the ever-loving hell out of. I'm not sure why anything is actually in this game. It's always weird, but it's always charming, and if you've never played it, it's super surprising to see what comes next. And trust me, as a two-player game, it gets even better than what you see here. But it's time for the actual second sound sample, because again, this is all based on that Rack Sound System. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a lot more.
Multiple knockout.
I mean, it's definitely interesting music, and it's definitely 90s music, and it sounds correct coming out of the new FPGA core right now, but it is one of those things. I'm surprised the developers made an entire soundboard just for one game, but back in the 90s, developers just kind of like making new hardware if they could get away with it and get the budget for it. So many different arcade boards would add on little bits of hardware here and there just to try to do something different. It's like the engineers just felt like they were challenging themselves to come up with something just because they were allowed to at work, which is something I totally understand. If you can do something, why not try, especially if your work is paying for the cost of development. But for somebody like SRG320 to go in and basically reverse engineer this entire board into FPGA code for one game absolutely just shows the insane level of dedication he's putting in to make sure everything Sega Saturn and Sega Titan Video works. And I can't think of another example of any specialized hardware on the STV outside of some of the kiddie games like sticker printer games, and I do not expect him to write any sort of sticker printer code into MiSTer FPGA, but holy hell, if you could hook up a USB printer just to do that one thing, it would be absolutely hilarious. But again, that is just me joking around. I hope he doesn't actually spend the time to do it, because it's one of those things. It would be a fun curiosity that people might use once, but otherwise would probably be a metric ton of work for something that we really don't need, because that is the interesting thing about the Sega Titan Video hardware. It got like 50 actual games for it, and then it got like 40 some odd sticker printers, kid rides, and other uses in the arcades that really aren't video gaming related, and that happens more often than not. Basically, Naomi was watered down years later as a Dreamcast arcade board that basically ran other sticker printers and other small redemption games for children. So when a developer has hardware that is then very cheap to manufacture, they'll put it in arcade attractions for children so they can basically make something at the lowest cost possible, and that's why you have the Sega Titan Video board showing up in things like sticker printers. It's just a reuse of technology, and a smart one to get down the development costs and recoup more of that R&D that went into making the board in the first place. And you'll see here Robin's just kicking like it is his job, because again, that was something that couldn't be done in the previous core. But we're getting very close to a complete STV library playable on MiSTer FPGA. I did check the overall spreadsheet. There's a couple of games that are still presenting problems, but you know full well SRG320 is going to come around and take care of almost all of them, if not all of them, because he's already shown this sheer amount of dedication to just getting one soundboard reincorporated into FPGA code. And I know this game is on the Sega Saturn as well, so it's not like we couldn't play it before, but it does have a different sound profile, and honestly the arcade version, in my opinion, is just slightly better and feels like it's slightly faster. And trust me, this game is absolutely running at turbo mode basically the entire time. No human beings jump or move like this in real life, but it's just one of those things. Batman Forever is a vibe. It's a very weird game. It's a very strange game, but it is a fun game, especially with friends. It definitely sits right in that B tier category, but we love B tier on the channel, and something like this, having that soundboard in FPGA, it's just a wild time. That means there's one more sound sample, because again, we're talking about sound hardware. 35 seconds, and I'll be right back with a little bit more history about Batman Forever. But enjoy.
Multiple knockout.
So there you have it. That is Batman's Forever soundtrack, and there's something special about boards like this in my opinion, because the 90s were just the Wild West when it came to arcade development. Now today, if you go into an arcade and you see a game running, it is a modern PC in a box. It's usually something like an i5 with a mid-tier consumer graphics card. Maybe it'll be running Linux, maybe it'll be running Windows, but there's no specialized hardware inside of that box whatsoever. It is just consumer PC components with an OS behind it. Maybe a couple special I/O boards, but otherwise it's basically the same hardware that you'd be playing games at home on your computer. But back in the 90s, developers just made wild arcade add-ons, wild arcade boards, and basically threw whatever technology they wanted at these boards just to see if they could get them to do something better than the competition. And that's why I love arcade games from the 90s and collecting the hardware. It's just stuff that you would never see at home. It was custom, bespoke design silicon just to achieve something like a slightly better sound quality than the STV or Sega Saturn could provide. And the fact that SRG320 was dedicated enough to spend all this time to get sound in one game that we already had playable on Sega Saturn just shows that he's an absolutely insane developer that does not want to leave anything behind on the cutting room floor. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me, have you ever played Batman Forever before, and what do you think of it? I can't say it's an amazing game, it's definitely a decent game, but there's something about it, the overall wild aesthetic just makes it more fun than you would think. But definitely check this one out. If you need a tutorial on how to run STV, check the playlist. But we're done, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.